everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the L.A.M.E Book Club podcast. My name is Melissa.
And I'm Ellie.
And we have some hot goss for you today. I actually don't even know if this one's going to necessarily be unpopular. I think it's just hot goss for today.
Nice.
But
just
you'll have to be the judge of that
Melissa,
and let us know.
You sent me the notes, and I was like, cool, I'll read up. But then I didn't. And so I'm going to be surprised with everyone else.
Excellent.
I think it's kind of my
Incredible.
favorite thing, just being surprised.
I'm actually glad that you didn't because I also want you to be surprised. I want your, and I'm really setting myself up for disappointment here because I hope your reaction to this is the same as mine, which was like, shut up, no way. And
Okay.
so if you're
I'll give you
not,
a
then I'm
couple of
going to be
those.
sad. And if you are, then it's exactly what I was expecting.
Fair enough.
Cool. So today on our Hot Goss episode, we are going to be jumping into the theory: is the Pool of Starlight in the Spring Court a connection between all three worlds?
Is this one episode that we need to give the preface that
We sure
if you
do.
haven't read everything? Okay, I'll do
Absolutely.
it. If you have not read every written work by SJM, this is not your episode. But please
is
join
not.
us for our weekly book club episodes on Throne of Glass. They come out on Wednesday, except not this Wednesday. Tell them why.
Because everyone, we are now in June, which means it's our indie book month. So we're
Yes.
pausing our Throne of Glass series, which we are on Queen of Shadows at the moment. But we are pausing that for a few weeks. And this Wednesday, our episode on A Cursed Kiss by Jenny Hickman is coming out with none other than Jenny Hickman herself. So we had so much fun talking to her about her book and
gosh, I
picking
love
her
her.
picking her brain about like her inspiration behind it and everything. So if you have read the book, awesome. If not, fear not, because we do give a brief summary without spoiling too much of like plot, different like twists and everything that happened in the book beforehand. And then the second half of the episode is our interview with Jenny. So feel free to listen to that even if you haven't read it. But then if you haven't, go back and read the book afterwards because it is seriously a very good book. And we loved it so much.
Good. I love that book. Okay, so anyways.
That's this Wednesday.
Don't be listening if you haven't read all of SJM's
Yes.
books because there will be so many spoilers. And then don't come at us and be like, you spoiled it because we told you. And that's it.
That's all. Also, if you don't already follow us on Instagram or social media, whatever, do that. It's at L.A.M.E Book Club Pod on pretty much everything. Subscribe on YouTube. We had a really, my phone, I can't use it. I was gonna say we had some really cool comments recently on YouTube. We'll read them on our next episode. But it's been fun to see like our community. I feel like is starting to grow a little bit more on YouTube specifically, which is great. So yeah, if you like to like watch these episodes, you can see it on Spotify too. We upload the video, but I guess YouTube is probably going to be the place to go for that. And it's funny to me because I didn't have this thought until this week. And so I want to put it on here and I want your guys' opinions. But if you don't actually watch our episodes, like if you just listen to the audio on like Apple Podcasts or Spotify or whatever, please like message us, whether it's on Instagram or I don't know, like comment on something. I don't really care how, but like some way let us know. I am so curious what you think we look like based on our voices. And I want you to be honest. Because if it's like not flattering, that's fine. I want an honest opinion on I think I want an honest opinion. I might not once I hear them.
If you've been here for any amount of time, you know I don't handle any type of criticism well. So if it's not the most flattering for me, just be like, your voice sounds like an absolute troll. Keep that thought inside, I think.
Well, I still want to know. I might hate it, but I want to know. Anyways, like I said, just let us know because I never really like thought about the fact that there are people in the world that have listened to me talk but have never actually seen what I look like, and I'm curious in their opinions like what they thought I would have looked like just based on hearing it.
Yeah. And then lastly, If you guys have any thoughts on what we should talk about, any theories, any headcanon events in your mind that we just absolutely need to bring up on Hot Goss, write into us. DM us on Instagram. We have an email somewhere, I think. And we'll check it. We'll dive into the theory as well. We'll get some research done and we'll talk about it. I've had a few and they are teed up to go for the next few weeks. We've had some people write in and they're fascinating theories. So really excited to hear from you guys and we love to talk about what you want. So
we also have a Discord, which are on our Instagram. It's in a saved highlight. The link to join it is there. But we have a specific channel in Discord also for like exclusively for Hot Goss suggestions too. So you can also join the Discord and post it in there too. Yep. But cool. Well, with all of that, Ellie and everyone, are you guys ready to jump into the thought process?
Yes.
Excellent. So before I do, I want to shout out Sierra from Unhinged Book Talk. Her video is really what sent me spiraling down this rabbit hole and where I pulled a lot of information. So thank you to Sierra. I want to give her credit, especially in case anyone has already seen her video. This is going to be, I have a few more thoughts, but it's a lot of what she talked about as well. So with that being said, before we jump into the Pool of Starlight specifically, let's talk about Norse mythology, because Sarah has pulled, and I know she's even said this in interviews, but like she pulls information from, or thoughts and ideas from a lot of different mythologies. But I feel like, and this is just my opinion, if you disagree, that's perfectly fine, but I feel like Norse mythology is one of her bigger inspirations. I feel like she maybe pulls from that more so than others. Again, not saying she doesn't from others, I just feel like more so. And so with that in the back of our minds, there is a book, and I can't remember the name, I should have grabbed it, but there is a book on Norse mythology. And within this book, it specifically talks about the fact that there is a, quote, tree of life. It's also called a world tree, and it's pronounced Yggdrasil. And in Norse mythology, this book is an ash tree. That is exactly the verbiage that they use to explain it. So immediately my SJM radar was going off, like, because ash trees
is like the one thing that can defeat the Fae because it's poison to them, right? Is that's the series?
The ash, it's like it's a otherworldly wood, and it can kill immortal beings essentially. Like it's stronger than regular wood, and there's like inherent magic essentially in it, which makes sense.
For you, as a little woodworker myself, ash is one of the strongest hardwoods you can work with. It's absolutely a mess if you're trying to do any like fine woodworking, but it's like the stuff that they make baseball bats out of because it's that strong. Continue.
That is really cool. I did not know that. And so because there is like a Scandinavian tie, obviously it's Norse mythology, Yggdrasil is spelled Yggdrasil, which is not even remotely close to how I first spelled it.
It's not even close to how you spell Idris Elba. Thank you.
He is actually Norwegian, in case anyone didn't know. I'm just kidding. But the IGGR, which every time I say that, it makes me think that IGGY. My name, Iggy Azalea. But the YGGR is also it used to be a name that people referred to when they were talking about the god Odin, who in Norse mythology is like top tier, the god of the gods. Like he is reigning champion. So just keep that in the back of your mind as well. All right, so Yggdrasil, this tree in Norse mythology, joins all their 9 worlds together by its roots. However, 3 of the biggest roots are in 3 specific worlds fed by 3 wells of water. In Norse mythology, the 3 main roots are in the worlds Midgard, which is literally the word that they use for the world of humans, aka the like normal realm.
Okay.
And also exactly the phrasing that SJM used in Crescent City.
Yeah.
Jotunheim is the land of giants, and as we all know, Fae are larger than humans. I don't know if they're necessarily giants per se, but they are larger. And
now,
then
Jotunheim, could that be pronounced Odinheim? And I only ask that because in Thor, the movie, that's what they say, and that sounds like the same.
You know, it's possible. I don't know, but it's spelled Jotunheim. I am taking all of my American liberties in assuming it's pronounced Jotunheim.
We're just white girls. What do you expect from us?
So it's very possible that it's not at all pronounced Jotunheim. That's just how I'm saying it.
Okay.
And if I'm being so real with all of you guys too, I said Jotunheim the first time I read it, but my husband loves Norse mythology and he corrected me saying it's probably not pronounced that way. But you all know that I can't pronounce for crap
I think it's Jotunheim only because that's what Thor says when in the movie Thor, the feature film Thor.
I think
it's Jotunheim.
Okay, so then whatever. That's the land of giants.
Okay.
And then the third root is in Helheim, which is also hell. And however, I wish that related a little bit more to Throne of Glass, I'm being so honest. But hell is also a specific world that she does talk about in Crescent City as well. So that is a little bit of a loose end on my just tie initially. However, it is also still a place that she references. And they spell hell Hel, which is exactly how she spells it in the series too.
Sure is.
So with this tree, there are 3 powerful sisters called Norns who tend to the wells of water and ensure that the roots of Yggdrasil are cared for. Every once in a while, they all gather together at one of the wells of water, which is called Urd's Well, Urds.
You're blowing my mind. What?
And that is where the 3 sisters shape fate.
Okay.
Interesting. Okay. So, to summarize this, and this is just in Norse mythology, not in any of Sarah's books, this is saying that there's one sister in 3 different worlds, all somehow connected to a body of water in their worlds, and all caring for an ash tree that is that connects their worlds together, and they are all powerful enough to shape fate when they come together. So, let's look up a picture of the Norns, shall we? And Ellie, if you want to go ahead and pull up the document I sent you, just scroll. There's a picture. I'm going to throw it on our episode as well so that you guys can see it. But there are lots of pictures of them. I'm going to caveat by saying it. However, there is this one specific picture, and I'm going to describe it to you in case you're not looking. One of the sisters has brown hair. One of the sisters has blonde hair. And one of the sisters has red hair. I think it is no coincidence that Feyre has brown hair, Aelin has blonde hair, and Bryce has red hair. She is too intentional for that to be any sort of a coincidence. So, assuming that these 3 worlds and the roots are connected in reference to Midgard, Prythian, and Erilea, and again, I'm taking a lot of liberties in assuming Erilea just based on Norse mythology specifically, but let's just assume that. Let's talk about what bodies of water it could be referencing in each world. And so I'm glad you asked, Ellie, because I'm about to tell you.
Wait, before you do, I want to catch up my brain because I feel, okay, let me start here.
There's a lot.
So we've got Midgard is the one earthy world. Jotunheim's the Fae maybe world, and then Hel is the third world.
Yeah.
All obviously influencing Sarah's writing and the destinations she chooses.
Yes.
Then we've got the ash tree that ties the 3 girls take care of the ash tree.
Yeah, the ash tree connects all 9 worlds in Norse mythology, but the strongest roots are in the 3 that you already mentioned. And then there's 3, they're called Norns, and they're sisters, and they care for Yggdrasil to make sure that it's watered and cared, and because the tree is like the center of everything, and it they make sure the tree is taken care of.
And then the three sisters are a redhead, Bryce, a blonde, Aelin, and a brunette, Feyre. Beautiful.
According to the one of the pictures online that I found, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
You may continue.
And they are all they're not, so Norns are not gods, but they are all very powerful beings, and they have powerful enough to shape fate.
Okay.
So,
okay.
All right, so now let's talk about what this could mean. Let's talk about what this could mean for her bucks. So, in Prythian, it could be this Pool of Starlight in the Spring Court. This is where that theory gets tied in. And here is some reasoning behind that. The Pool of Starlight has been theorized about by so many people in lots of different forms. And we're actually, even at the end of this episode, or when I'm done, Ellie has another theory on the Pool of Starlight that we're even going to talk about as well. But I think so many people have so many different theories about it, because it just feels so much more significant based on the way it's described than just a random body of water being referenced in the first book to help set up the scene for Timmy Tam and Feyre to smooch. Like, it doesn't, it is talked about like so reverently and everything, for it to just be casually mentioned and then like never brought up again. And she is the queen of drawing back to things that are seemingly insignificant and actually having like a crazy meaning and tie to them. So also the fact that it's in the Spring Court, but it's a pool of starlight. So like, why would that not be in the Night Court if that's going to be how it's described? So that too. And then also, Tamlin very casually and briefly mentions that anyone who drinks out of it would have happiness until their last breath. And in Norse mythology, Odin literally gives up his eye just so that he could drink from one of the aforementioned pools in order to gain peace and wisdom. So...
yeah. Okay, because so for me, I was like, well, this is kind of loose, because how do we not know, or how do we know it's not I don't know if it's called the Yggdrasil River? Is that?
Oh,
Prythian?
Oh, in,
like one that the Rainbow River, or
Yeah.
in Valaris.
That is...
Eastros.
Yes.
Eastros?
Yeah.
Could be wrong, guys. It's been a minute, but... yeah, I thought to myself, oh, how do we know it's not that one? But that makes sense then if Tamlin had said that about the piece, and then that's what Odin gave his eye up for. Okay, I'm tracking. I believe you a little bit.
Okay. So that's Prythian. So let's talk about Throne of Glass. I think this one blew my mind more than this, the Pool of Starlight. So buckle up. Do you remember the lake under the mountain in Wendlin where Rowan takes Aelin to train and have to save... Okay, so that we're talking about that body of water. While attempting to get Luca from the middle of the ice, they're attacked by a monster living under the ice and in the lake that had, quote, glowing red eyes. I actually honestly even think that, if I remember correctly, it even had like lost an eye, but at least one of them was glowing in red.
Okay.
Well, not so surprisingly, in Norse mythology, one of the wells that feeds Yggdrasil is so big that it's literally described as a lake. And there's a freaking dragon with red eyes that lives in that water.
Yep.
In Norse mythology.
Yep. That's that.
Like, are you kidding me? That is like almost verbatim how she explains this in Throne of Glass.
I'd like to clarify something. You guys might all be thinking like, okay, so there's tie-ins, so what? Well, same thing as any history, guys.
Yeah.
What we can learn from the past, what we learn that she is taking theories from or symbolism from, we can apply to the future. So where we know more about Norse and not know so much about Sarah J. Maas's future ACOTAR 5 book, or the next Crescent City book, we can grab from this and apply.
Ellie, I am so glad that you even said that, because I'm not about to do it right now, but I have theories about future stuff as well that I'm going to jump into. So I'm
perfect.
So glad you said that, because
happy to be the bridge.
Echo the sentiments exactly.
Yeah.
But let's just talk about Midgard here for a second. So like the third body of well. This one, again, loose ties. These are all theories. But what could it be? Well, the last well is literally called Urd's well. We know this. And we also know the name Urd from the Underking in Crescent City. That's Erd sounds like word, which is used a lot in Throne of Glass, but if I'm not mistaken, and Ellie, correct me if I'm wrong, the first time we hear Erd is in Crescent City, right?
Probably.
Okay.
And that's good enough for me.
I mean, I'm not gonna say I'm 100% confident on that. She writes a lot. These books are long. I don't exactly remember every specific thing that, like, the order, but I'm pretty sure.
That's okay.
Thank you. I'm pretty sure the first time we hear Erd is in Crescent City. Well, it could possibly be the lake or pools in the caves in Avalon where the ordeal went down with Rune. There's so many bodies of water that are referenced in Crescent City, and none of them necessarily are specifically tied to things in the same way that how the Pool of Starlight, like that phrase that Tamlin mentioned, is so similar to Odin, and then like how the way the lake is described in Throne of Glass, that's similar to one of the wells with the dragon. There's nothing specific like that. However, there has been speculation that she is writing a fourth book. I've heard that she has confirmed this, but I also am not, I don't know if that's true or not.
Fourth Crescent City?
Yeah.
Is confirmed.
Okay.
It was mentioned in the Today Show. She said she had a lot of books like lined up on the taxi ready to take off, and the fourth Crescent City was in that.
Okay, so that's what I've heard her say. I just haven't actually seen that interview. So
it's a good one.
But with that being said, there's a fourth book in the series, and do you remember which house it's all about? That's right, Ellie.
Waters?
You're right. It's none other than the House of Many Waters.
Whoa.
It's possible that the body of water from Midgard hasn't been written about yet and will be referenced in an upcoming book in the House of Many Waters.
Okay.
Also, this is a slight tangent, but it feels relevant. Like I said earlier, Midgard is the name of one of the worlds in mythology or Norse mythology, and it feels very intentional to me that Sarah used that as the name in Crescent City, where there are humans that also live too, because that was their phrasing for the human world. Also, in mythology, there are two types of gods.
Wait. I don't think I'm wrong here. That was originally just a human planet before the Asteri opened it up and brought in Fae.
You are so right.
Okay.
Exactly. Yep.
Crazy. Okay.
But so also in Norse mythology, there are two types of gods. And I'm probably not saying this right, so don't come at me, but Aesir, Aesir, and that's like Odin, Thor, probably Loki, like probably the gods that you've heard of in Norse mythology, that's them.
Yeah.
But there is another type. Do you know what they're called, Ellie? They're called
I don't.
Vanir. Vanir. And the only reason I'm mentioning everything I'm about to say is more or less just to, again, show the strong ties that she has with Norse mythology to further my thought process on why I think the pool, like all of these worlds are connected and how they're connected. But also, one of the Vanir goddesses is named Freyja. Freyja.
Oh.
Are you kidding me? That is like
very, very similar to Freyya.
How I would have, like, it feels exactly even pronounced like Feyre, just maybe slightly different.
Going different places. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No. To me, that's just like, it's almost the exact same spelling. It's like two letters off. And Freyja, I'm gonna say it like I'm questioning it because am. But her father, Nord, is rumored to be the leader of the Vanir. However, she does play a large role in the war that in Greek or Norse mythology, the war between the Aesir and the Vanir. She is like she's not their leader, but she is his daughter, and she is like one of the main components in starting the war.
Okay.
She is also the leader of the Valkyries, which we know are mentioned in ACOTAR.
Yes, they are.
The Valkyries in Norse mythology also rode winged horses which
Pegasus. Jelly Jubilee.
Yep, Jelly. Oh, yes, literally, I say which have been referenced in Crescent City in connection to Jelly Jubilee, aka Bryce's favorite childhood toy, but also, and they make a return at House of Flame and Shadow in Avalon. But I also am pretty sure that Hellion has one. Remember they talked about a very
yes,
yeah,
he does. I was gonna say. Mm-hmm.
So they're also mentioned again in ACOTAR, and they are rumored to be from the Dusk Court, which is also rumored to be the prison in Prythian, where the Valkyrie are mentioned in, well, I mean, not specifically the prison, but like Prythian, that's where the Valkyrie are mentioned in her books. So it's just too many things are all coming together for me. Like,
yeah. Well, it's very, very obvious. In my opinion, you've 100% sold me that Sarah absolutely grabs inspiration from Norse mythology.
Yeah. But going back to the water situation, in House of Many Waters, potential fourth book, or fourth book, potential thoughts on what could happen. I will bet that whatever body of water that is the quote well that she's going to create, if she hasn't already, in the Crescent City series, is going to be a body of water that's super sacred to the Mer people. And there's even, like, honestly, at this point, I even think she'll probably call it Erdswell in the book. Oof. Because the name Erd has been mentioned already.
Our first theory.
Especially, okay, so then here's where I'm now jumping ahead. Okay. So now, because there are theories that Sarah has another series, like a independent, or not independent, but another book series coming out.
Yeah, the Twilight of the
I
Gods
think that was
one.
It's rumored that it's going to be called Twilight of the Gods. Do you know what one of the other names for Ragnarok is?
Twilight.
It's Twilight of the Gods.
Ooh!
And Ragnarok in Norse mythology is essentially like their final battle. It's like the end of the world. And it's also part of a prophecy where they, quote, the earth will sink into the sea.
Oh.
Can we not talk about, like, okay, even if that's not Twilight of the Gods, Crescent City 4, House of Many Waters, the earth, they're already like, don't know what's happening now.
The Ocean Queen is angry.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, I would not be shocked if the earth sank into the sea and then that is Erdswell. Like,
wow.
And they all have to somehow live underwater or something. I don't know. I haven't thought too far ahead on that one.
I definitely think something will play a part, like the threat of sinking Lunathian into the sea could be a big plot point.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that could be Crescent City 4, or it could be, I've heard thoughts like about Twilight of the Gods really is her next series. Maybe it won't happen specifically in Crescent City, but then that series is going to be just a crossover series. So it'll be a new series, but there probably won't be very many new characters. It's just going to be like a bunch of crossover. And that's when the actual, like, quote, Ragnarok event will happen.
Okay.
Which I think, if I had to give an opinion, I think I'd prefer that versus having Ragnarok happen in one book, because I think that it could be, I don't want it to be like rushed at all. Yeah. The way I felt House of Flame and Shadow was. So I'd love for that to have its own series. But that's
Speaking
just me.
of, someone commented on our stuff this week that they think, and I haven't I said I was going to research it, but I haven't. Maybe this will be a whole episode in itself if I get too deep into it. But they said that they heard that Sarah had to start from scratch, rewrite all of House of Flame and Shadow in 5 weeks. Which could really explain a lot.
That does explain a lot.
Everyone's like, what did I just read?
Honestly, I hope that's true, because she's too good for how that book was to me.
Yeah.
Especially because, like, the other 2 books were so much, like, it's not like that's just like a bad series. Like, it's just the book.
Yeah.
But
okay.
Good to know.
Yeah.
One last point I have to this, and then I want to switch up and talk and go into detail a little bit more on, like, the Norns specifically. But in Kingdom of Ash, when Aelin is, quote, falling between worlds, She falls through a world entirely made up of water slash oceans or whatever. So I'm thinking maybe that could be that's either, in my opinion, a foreshadowing of what is going to happen in Crescent City 4, or a foreshadowing of Twilight of the Gods and like the Ragnarok like event happening. But I do think it's, again, not a coincidence that while she's falling between all of these worlds, and I also want to say she fell between, I can't remember if it was 9, it might have been 11, but I think we get a description of maybe 9. And there's 9 known worlds in Norse mythology, or at least they have 9 worlds in their mythology. I'm just saying.
Wait. Who fell through 9? What are you saying?
Like Aelin, when she's falling through the worlds in Kingdom of Ash, she is describing like all these different ones, and the very last one is when she sees Rhys and Feyre before
I think she only... I would have to reread, but I thought she only described Crescent City's world, Lunathian. I say it Lunathian, so it's really hard for me to switch it up. And then just Rhys's or Prythian?
No, there's more.
There's more?
Yeah, because there's one of like just straight water. There's one that's like really green and lush, full of trees. Like, there's way more than just the 2. And that's what I'm saying. I can't remember exactly how many, because there's also some where she's like doesn't get a good description of it, but like she knows that. So I want to say there might be 11 though. I can't remember if it's 9 or 11, or even an unknown, maybe even more than that. But if it's 9, to me, that the fact that it's 9 is not a coincidence, then either, knowing now that in Norse mythology there are 9 different worlds that are connected through this tree. But let's shift gears here, like I said, talking about the Norns. The Norns were representative of fate to them. And fate, they were represented by 3 sisters. And in Norse mythology, the sisters' names were Erd, which is means like they referenced past. Verdandi, ? I don't know how to say it, but that's it. And that is representative of present. And Skuld, which is representative of the future in Norse mythology. Like, that's what these 3 sisters represent. So if we're going off the timeline theory that we talked about in another episode that we got a lot of crap for, Aelin could possibly be representative of Erd. Feyre could be representative of Verandi or whatever, present. Yeah. And Bryce could be representative of Skuld, which could be future. And honestly, even if the timeline theory isn't a thing, I still think that is what who each sister would be representing, just based on like how their stories are.
Really cool. I know everyone, again, we got a lot of crap for that, but also nobody can give me a solid reason why they don't think it, other than they might have seen an interview where Sarah maybe didn't say that, but no one's citing their sources. And that's fine if it's out there and I'm just blowing smoke. But I think, even still, that would be the coolest direction to take this whole storyline into, of all the Massiverse, as if it was the same world with different timelines. That'd blow my mind. And it would line up with Norse mythology, so you heard it here.
I have I can't remember if I wrote it in here, and if I think I did, but if I didn't, then I will just casually mention it at the end. But I have a thought on what that could also possibly be.
Okay.
It's slightly different than timeline, but also not different worlds either. And I have like a reference point for it, but I'm gonna get into that in a second. So there's a poem. I'm not even gonna attempt to say it. It's pronounced, or it's spelled V, and then it's not even a normal O. I don't know what it's called, but it's when the O has the 2 dots on top.
Yeah.
Luspa with an like a accent mark on it.
Okay.
This poem has perhaps deservedly become the standard image that people today associate with the Norns. And in this poem, the Norns are mysterious beings who don't seem to come from any recognized kinds of beings who populate Norse, like the Norse otherworld. They seem to be a category unto themselves. There are exactly 3 of them, and their names suggest their ability to construct the content of time, which we just Erd is past. We just talked about the 3 names and what they are. And they live in a hall by their wells, which is there's a Norse name for it, which translates to Well of Fate, beneath Yggdrasil, which is the mighty tree at the center of the otherworld, and it all holds 9 worlds. So it's essentially everything I've already talked about, but like this poem is kind of like the standard now for what everyone associates with the Norns and who they are and their purpose, essentially. They are really similar to the Moirae and Fates of the Greco-Roman mythology. And as in Germanic mythological tradition, they were known to be 3 sister goddesses with different names. Lacheus or something, which is the decider, Atropos, who is the inevitable, and Clotho, the spinner. The only reason I included this is because, and this isn't Norse at all, but because Sarah specifically has a character in one of her series named Clotho that we know a little bit about, but not much. And so I'm wondering if maybe she's going to come into play a little bit more now, knowing this.
Yeah.
Maybe not. This is absolutely a crack theory, but I just wanted to include it because, again, she doesn't do anything unintentionally, and I just wanted to throw it out there now in case it does come back.
Cool.
The Anglo-Saxons also referred to Erd by the name of Wyrd, W-Y-R-D. So,
Makes sense.
again, yes. The Norns are also referred to as the Weavers of Fate. And we know that she has another character who is the Weaver, who, she does a little bit more literally weaves people. But, again, I'm just saying there's all these things that all these references that she's pulled from throughout her stories.
Yeah.
I read on a website that talked about Norns something that said, and granted, I'm just thinking, like, this is someone's opinion on the Norns. It's not like actual mythology or anything, but I want to call it out. Their opinion on them is what I imagine is that the Norns can see the big picture. They can see our potential even when we cannot or do not. To me, that feels like super on par with all 3 of their character developments.
Absolutely.
Especially Aelin's. Like, that's her whole, like, they believe in everyone else in order for the other people to be able to believe in themselves and help them, like, at the end. Like, they are the catalyst.
That's literally the theme of all 3 books is
exactly
defending those who can't defend themselves and believing in those who don't believe in themselves.
Exactly. And according to this person, that's their take on the Norns in in Norse mythology.
Love that.
My whole thing is I feel like they represent the Norns. So that would make total sense if they actually do, because that's like down to on a molecular level who these characters are. Also, all 3 characters have some sort of an eye associated with them. Aelin has the Eye of Elena, which is described as 2 overlapping circles inside a larger one. Bryce has the Archesian amulet, which is just 3 overlapping circles. But it's described really similarly to the Eye of Elena, and it does a similar, like, the power is similar too.
Yeah.
And Feyre has the eye on the center of her palm that Rhys tattooed. And that is also...
Forgot.
Yep.
Yes.
And that tie is, like, has a tie to the overlapping circles because she has a tie also to overlapping circles outside from the tie, because that's what the bone carver carves in, or he draws in on the ground when they meet him for the first time. He draws 3 circles looped together. And the bone carver is like, we're so not done hearing more about him. And like, he is he
died.
I'm just saying, like, I mean, like,
I think we're done.
What he knew. No. I just mean, like, I think he's like gonna come back. The idea of him, like, what he had planted in place, or like,
sure. Like, his ideas aren't gone.
I've also heard a theory that, and I'm going off on a tangent here, and it's crack, but that Bryaxis disappeared because he's trying to find Aelin and Bryce to bring them all together, the three of the people together. And just saying, I would love that. Me too.
I'd love that. I would love some big girl. Oh my gosh, I would eat that book. I think a 2-day read max.
Oh my
That
goodness.
would be the book of the century for me if you really just brought them together and just had this like, hey, let's say the Valg and Asteria are separate beings, right? And then also whoever else was the enemy, all of them, Crochet, everybody, Daglin, everyone just comes in as one big, massive monster force trying to take out their worlds, and these three girls lead everybody into like a massive battle. Ooh, I'd love it. Does Norse say anything about that?
Into the Twilight of the Gods, if you will.
Yeah.
Just saying.
I had something to say. Oh, in lieu of the 3 eye sort of trinkets / tattoos everyone had. Is there a 4th Norse girl or boy who could perhaps be an eyeball ring?
Jurian enters the chat. No, not in Norse mythology. There's just 3, or 3 like main ones. But
I want a 4th. I want a Jurian eyeball.
I have another connection. It's not to Norse mythology, but in Greek mythology, their version of the Norns are called the Fates, and they are represented, I mean, in like Hercules, and they all share an eye as well. And in some translations, the Norns are mentioned to have like shared an eye. Yep. So it's a connection. And I just wanted to call that out because the Norns, and like there's also like some mythology that says that they, like I said, they're the weavers. I mentioned that earlier, but that they like literally have strings that like weave things, fate together.
Invisible strings. Plug Taylor Swift.
And in like in Hercules, they all share the one eye to see the future and like whatever, but they use strings in some way too? Or am I making that up?
No,
Okay,
they do.
That's what I thought. Okay. Also, one last connection between all 3 of them.
Okay.
They are all conduits for their mate's power. Feyre channels Rhys's power when she restores the cauldron.
Yes, she does.
Aelin and Rowan are Karanam, and so that happens like on more than one occasion.
Yes.
Bryce and Hunt were literally made for each other so that she could channel his power as a weapon.
I love this.
I don't necessarily think that has anything to do with them being like Norns, but again, it's just to me like I want them to come together so bad, and I think that
the Norse mythology also has those fates channel their mate's power, or
no, that's what I'm saying. That's just a Sarah original on that one. I'm just saying like the fact that they are conduits
similar
for their mate's power to get the 3 of them are similar in that aspect, but then also they become extra powerful and they can shape fate when they are using their mate's power.
Nice.
And the Norns are powerful beings who shape fate. So that was like the loose connection, but the Norns themselves aren't, at least nothing I read said that they had like mates or anything.
Yep. Love it. That's so fascinating.
Yeah. So that's pretty much all that I had, but the theory of them, I mean, I think it's not even really necessarily a theory anymore that everything's going to be like connected in some way, but I think it's fun to theorize how. And I feel like that's more of what this episode was talking about. It's like, how are they going to all be connected? What is the bigger role that they're going to play? And I think all of this is really going to tie into her next series. If it's called Twilight of the Gods, I think there's strong evidence to say that it will be, since she had a Pinterest board that has since been deleted, but had a Pinterest board named Twilight of the Gods. And in that Pinterest board, before she deleted it, people saw that she had a bunch of like female like Thor type characters in it, and then also pictures of like really cool armor, like Valkyrie style armor.
That's cool.
And everything. And she's had Pinterest boards for all her books before writing them. So like, and knowing that Twilight of the Gods is literally another name for Ragnarok, which is so related. She has so many other ties to Norse mythology, and like so many of these other things are like potentially have already happened. It just, to me, I'm like, there's no doubt in my mind at this point that that's what is going to happen. And I think it would be so cool to have a Ragnarok situation with all of these characters from all 3 books tied together.
Yes. Ugh!
Yes.
I want it now.
I know. I
don't
want it now
want
too.
To wait. I'm so annoyed.
I know.
Okay. I'm going to throw in my own little tidbitty theory. And I was telling Melissa, this really doesn't have anything to do with the previous aforementioned theories and tie-ins to the Norse mythology, but it's a theory someone threw at us, and I thought it was so fascinating, and it somewhat ties into the star pool, right? And so I thought, what better time to mention it than the last 30 seconds of this episode? So we've talked before a little bit about the idea that Tamlin sent Rhys's sister and mother through the star pool. We talked about that being kind of a portal or rift more than anything. And so the idea that he would have sent them through that star pool into another land rather than killing them, as everyone believes in the book. Now, again, I know, I'll get to that. So my theory on this, not mine necessarily, but the people's theory, is Azriel's mate Rhys's sister. Now, I know that this is headcanon and that there's really no solid basis for this in the book, but there are some hints. And so hear me out on this. Sarah, number 1, hates killing off characters. We know that through and through, especially big characters, such as Rhys's actual sister.
Well, and especially characters that are, like, as far as we know, completely innocent.
Right.
Like, I feel like bad guys, eventually, like, eventually she'll kill them off. But, like, when someone is just, like, killed for no reason, they usually aren't, we find out that they're not actually dead.
Right.
Except for Claire. Poor Claire. Rip.
But, like, okay, and I
but
hate
her
to say
death
this,
had a
because
purpose.
Obviously Claire, like, her death had a purpose, and she was a big part of that book, but she wasn't a main character. Not that Rhys's sister is, but she has the potential. Claire never had the potential to be a main character. Also, the little, like, the fairy that died where they ripped off his wings. He died, but he wasn't a main character.
No.
Everyone who's died so far has not been a main character.
We didn't know about him.
Energy.
We didn't even know about that, like, lesser fae until his wings had been ripped.
Right. So all I'm saying is Sarah hates killing off characters. Yeah. It's likely that she didn't kill this one off either.
That makes sense.
And so here's my biggest point to this is in reference to Selene in House of Flame and Shadow, Azriel said softly, and this is a quote from the book. Azriel said softly, voice tinged with pain, she looks like Rhysand's sister. Nesta peered back at him with something like curiosity and sympathy. For me, that's enough. That's enough for me to start thinking quite a bit about this. We have the sympathy that she is no longer with us. Or is there a sympathy that that's a mate bond and Nesta kind of knows that pain of being away from your mate, or the pain that Azriel is feeling from potentially thinking he lost his mate? I don't know, something like that. But then also you have to take into consideration that with your mate dying, you go crazy. So says everybody about possibly Tamlin and Amarantha. So since Azriel's not crazy and still open to the idea of love, since he's kind of hot and heavy with Elaine.
He's not just open. He's on the look.
Yeah, he's on the look.
He's searching.
I don't think. All right, you know what? I back out. I don't think it's true. I'm still going to make a short about it.
That's
just
fine.
to get the people riled.
No, that's fine. I also, I was going to, before you started, like, playing your own devil's advocate, I was going to say, to play devil's advocate, I think he could have just been acting sad because he knew Rhys's sister and she was dead. So, like, grief doesn't always mean it's, like, from a loved one. He could have loved her like a sister, because he thinks of Rhys as his brother, so by extension, she's like a sister to him, and she was killed brutally.
I have something else
according
to
to
say,
what
though.
we know.
I have something else. What if Azriel knows that she's alive and just can't be with her? Well, then he wouldn't be with Elaine. All right, forget it. Just forget everything I've said.
But, okay, no, forget the mate part, but what if he does know that she's alive because of just how he knows things, but for whatever reason can't tell Rhys, and then he feels guilty about that? That would be an interesting twist.
I could see that. I could see that.
I
Okay,
can see
and
that
then
way
the
more than them being
last-
mates.
Absolutely. I don't see
Yeah.
them being mates. And in fact, delete. Delete my number.
No.
Forget this happened.
Delete my number.
So my last little thing, since we're now on the topic of Rhys's sister, I've heard of a possible name for her, and it's cute. And I think this this would be in line. It could be Vela, Vela, and that
Okay.
the name is half of Valaris, Rhys being Rhys, and Vela being Vela. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah.
I like that.
I heard that somewhere, and I thought, probably not, but worth mentioning. It's cute. It's cute, okay?
That's
cute. That's all it is.
It's cute. I like it because I want to love it, but I don't love it. I like it because of how cute it is, but I don't love it because Vela sounds so much like Feyre.
Oh, maybe. Also, Valaris, I think, was around so much early. Wait, didn't Rhys's dad create Valaris? Like, start Valaris?
No.
It was before that, right?
It was like a High Lord way before.
Okay, so then why would it be
They've
after
just kept the tradition.
Rhys and his sister, yeah.
But I mean, like, that's where they lived. I wouldn't be surprised if they named them after the place that they were the
opposite way around. Yeah, it was Valaris first, and then they named them Vela and
Yes,
Rhys.
it's not because of them that he named Valaris. I think it could be he named them because of Valaris. I mean,
so true.
But that's assuming
probably
her name
not.
is Vela.
You guys, probably not. All right, and so you heard it here first. That is Hot Goss with Unpopular Sauce. And tune in this Wednesday for our very first indie author book, A Cursed Kiss. Maybe read it before you even tune in. It's a really good one. You're going to love it. And until then, we will see you guys later. Bye.
Yeah. Bye.